Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Lunatics Radio Hour podcast. My name is Abby Branker, and today I am sitting here with Alan Kudan.
Hello.
And with Dan Roberts.
Hi there.
Dan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you guys for having me.
Well, it's a very special episode.
Tell us, Alan, what the episode is.
I don't know what the episode is. I just know that we had to first watch the movie When a Stranger Calls from 1979.
Which we just finished watching.
We did, and I never watched this movie without Dan, which is why he's here.
Okay, tell us first impressions of the movie. We're going to get into it, of course, but...
Everyone's looking at me,
Yeah.
so I'll give my first impressions. I really enjoyed it. It's interesting. The movie feels like there's three kind of chunks of movie, and I liked all the chunks independent. I felt like it didn't segue in my head great, but overall positive feelings, which was good because I'm not a big fan of the remake.
Yeah.
So I was pleasantly surprised. I'll say that.
I will agree wholeheartedly. There was very little glue between section 1, 2, and 3. We try not to do spoilers about movies, but it's kind of hard to discuss this movie without telling you what happens. A stranger calls and bad stuff happens.
Title is a spoiler.
Yeah, it really is. So, you had it coming. But part 1 and 3 are about your same protagonist and your same antagonist. And part 2 is just what? It's just character work?
It's a detective story and a psychological journey.
Yup.
About a man who's dealing with psychosis.
Uh-huh.
During the second part, I wasn't sure who I was rooting for. There's a private detective who's, not afraid to break the rules a little bit. And
murder.
There's a man dealing with some serious psychosis who is a murderer. He's a bad guy. But he's clearly got some kind of multiple personality disorder or something going on where he's disconnecting from himself when he's committing these murders. There's an interesting moment where he's looking at himself in a mirror and he can't quite reconcile who he is. So I started to feel kind of bad for him, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Not that changes the fact he shouldn't be murdering people.
No, murdering is wrong.
That is.
Well, here's the thing, boys. I have a reason for you why I think the movie feels disjointed and broken into 3 parts, but we're not going to get to it for a little while.
Okay.
There's an urban legend from the 1960s that centers around a teenage babysitter plagued by mysterious phone calls. The calls are coming from inside the house. And while there is a real case that we're going to talk about today, this urban legend didn't come from just one case, but from a cultural fear that went on to shape horror cinema forever. Today we are talking about The Babysitter and the Man Upstairs.
This is a real story?
It's an urban legend.
Urban legend, okay. So the whole trope of the killer's calling from inside the house, I thought that was from Scream.
Well, obviously all of these things came before Scream.
They did, but so is this the progenitor of all these?
It sure is.
Wow.
And Scream is inherently trying to be sort of meta.
Meta,
right?
yeah.
So
Let's talk about our sources.
Okay.
I don't like to do this often, but there is a Wikipedia entry on The Babysitter and the Man Upstairs.
You love Wikipedia.
A fandom wiki on the same topic, a Snopes article on The Babysitter and the Man Upstairs, a Shadow and Lore article on the same, and an article by Ashley DeLeon on the lineup.com, The Babysitter, The Gruesome Murder of Janet Christman. An urban legend is a widely circulated story, often presented as true, that typically involves unusual or frightening events. These stories are usually shared through word of mouth or media. They change over time, and they reflect common fears, beliefs, or cultural anxieties, even though they are not verified as factual. And of course, in modern era, or 10 years ago, creepypasta was kind of how a lot of urban legends were perpetuated. But before that, it was like campfire tales, word of mouth, whispers to your friends at the school bus.
Whispers to your friends at the school bus. I like that.
Painting a picture.
What would be a modern version? Like the Thin Man or the Skinny Man is the one that comes to mind for me.
Slenderman, yes.
Slenderman.
Yes.
Sorry. The Thin Man is a
Skinny
movie.
Man.
The Thin Man is a movie from
It is.
1920.
It's a detective movie. Slender Man is a really great example.
Is there a new one?
Oh,
Slenderman's
sure.
old by now.
Well, now I think we're getting into what's the stuff with the liminal space.
The back rooms.
The back rooms.
Sure.
That's kind of hitting more of the zeitgeist of weird, creepy internet culture.
Yeah, that's like very highly specific. I mean, I guess like the language now is internet culture. Like that's how
Absolutely.
things are shared.
Yeah.
Yeah, so back rooms for sure. Slenderman. There's a really creepy one that's probably from the same era as Slenderman.
I love I just got you to say Slenderman.
Slenderman?
Yeah, Jonathan Slenderman.
Jeff the Killer. Have you seen that?
No.
No, what's
Who's
that?
Jeff the Killer?
Jeff the Killer's again like another Reddit urban legend that is like someone escaped. I don't remember off the top of my head, but like someone escaped from some kind of facility, and there's like crazy pictures that circulate on Reddit, and people write creepypasta about it.
Mike Myers.
No,
Michael
it's
Myers.
Jeff.
Mike Myers did Austin Powers.
Oh, that's right.
Popular examples include the kidney heist, organ harvesting,
Oh, yeah.
Killer in the Back Seat, and Slenderman.
I mean, kidney harvesting is terrifying.
The Blue Star Tattoo rumor. I don't know what that is.
What's that?
Oh, the elevator game is one.
The elevator game is one of my favorite.
No,
Yeah.
go back to the blue star tattoo. What's that?
I just don't think. I mean, have you guys done anything about the elevator game?
A long, long time ago.
I that's one of my favorite things I've ever heard.
What's the deal? What deal? I know we talked about it. I don't remember.
You
it,
go
though.
in an elevator. It has to be in a building that's like a certain, like it's like gonna be like 10 or 11 stories or something, and you hit the buttons in a sequence.
Yep.
And if you do it correctly, you end up in an alternate reality.
Oh.
Yep.
Wow.
And there was a famous sort of true crime case that made the elevator game more popular because Eliza Lamb was in a hotel in LA and ended up, there's all this like creepy footage of her before she died and was found in the water tower on top of the building.
Oh yeah,
Of
yeah.
her hitting the buttons in a strange way, which was her having again some kind of psychosis. But people were like, "Oh, she was trying to do the elevator ritual," and it like became it had like a second wave of interest.
I remember you talking about this. 'Cause, like, how do you end up in the water tower?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a very famously unsolved case. So the Blue Star Tattoo urban legend is a legend that claims that temporary lick and stick star-shaped tattoos were soaked in LSD and were being distributed to children to get them hooked on drugs.
I heard that's true.
Okay, I mean, that's a fun one.
But at the center of this urban legend is a true and horrifying murder. So we're going to start there first. And generally, before Alan can say it, I tried to avoid true crime on this podcast. But in this case, it's really essential to the history of this very important horror trope. So we're going to talk about it. Janet Christman was born on March 21st, 1936. She was one of 3 daughters, the oldest of her sisters. Along with her parents, Charles and Lula Christman, the family lived in Columbia, Missouri. Columbia was known for being a small college town. As beloved and notable members of the community, the Christman family ran a restaurant called Ernie's Cafe and Steakhouse and lived in an apartment above it. In 1950, Janet Christman was 13 years old and an 8th grade student at Jefferson Junior High School. She was generally considered responsible and reliable with a strong work ethic and was frequently hired as a babysitter. So one thing that's often noted about her is that she appeared physically older than her age, more developed than most girls her age,
Oh, sure.
which led to unwanted attraction from older men inappropriately so.
Oh, I thought you were going to say gets her more jobs in positions of authority.
If only. She continued to focus on school and typical activities for her age. On Saturday, March 18th, 1950, Janet agreed to babysit 3-year-old Gregory Ramick, a child she regularly cared for. Even though she had been invited to a party that night, she decided instead to take the babysitting job.
That's the responsible thing to do.
That's right. Strong work ethic, like you said.
That's right. She was saving money to finish paying for a suit that she planned to wear for Easter.
What kind? A suit?
A bunny suit.
Like a burgundy suit,
A burgundy bunny suit?
not a bunny suit. Janet arrived at the Ramick home at approximately 7:30 that night. Gregory, the kid, was already asleep when she arrived, with the radio playing in his room. His parents, Ed and Ann, told her the child wouldn't need anything during the night. She was just there in case of an emergency. Ed, the father, left a loaded shotgun near the front door before they left.
As you do.
Which seems really unhelpful. Janet remained alone in the house with the child. The weather was bad that night. It was raining, there was sleet and strong winds, and temperatures dropped into the mid-20s. At approximately 10:35 p.m., Deputy Ray McCowan received a phone call from a girl who was screaming and asking for help. But the call ended before the officer could get any more information. McCowan believed the caller was in distress, but he couldn't trace the call because the telephone's company switchboard was closed at that hour. No further calls were received. Around 1:35 a.m., the Rameks arrived back home. And as he approached, Ed realized that the front light was on and the door was unlocked.
Oh.
I'm going to give a quick content warning for the next 20 seconds or so. 13-year-old Janet was found dead. She had also been beaten, raped, and was strangled to death.
Well, I feel bad about the bunny suit comments now.
Exactly.
But why were the? Can I?
Yes, please.
Did they say like what the parents are doing?
They were at a party.
They were at okay. 1:35.
It's kind of late, right?
It's a little bit late.
Yeah, for a 13-year-old girl. Listen, I'm not blaming the parents, but it's kind of late.
No, I mean that's the other thing that's weird. We have to put on our hindsight kind of glasses, like certain things that we would never, that most people would never do now. Totally fine back in the day. This is what 1950.
Yeah, exactly.
It does feel, because then you're sending the 13-year-old girl home at 1:35 too.
Well, the dad would drive her home.
Well, yeah, but it's still a late night for a 13-year-old.
I know. She's just trying to save up for her suit.
She's 13. She's the legal adult.
Yeah,
in the Jewish community.
A suit for Easter.
Yeah. Jewish Easter.
Clearly, she's a responsible person if she's saving money to buy a suit for Easter.
Yeah.
Not saving up to buy Blue Star LSD.
It's a good callback. I was about to make it.
So, as often happens, the investigation encountered problems early on. This is a tale as old as time. The Boone County Sheriff's Department and the Columbia Police Department disputed which agency had authority over the case. Poor coordination and communication between the two departments hindered progress. At the same time, residents of Columbia were alarmed by the crime. In the years prior, the town had experienced multiple incidents, including prowling and voyeurism, sexual assaults, and a murder. Although those cases had been closed, Janet Christman's killing raised concerns about whether the earlier incidents had been fully resolved. Investigators later focused on a suspect named Robert Mueller, who had been 27 years old at the time. He was acquainted with both Janet and the Ramek family and had previously hired her as a babysitter. On the night of the murder, he was at the same gathering as the Rameks, so the children's parents, where they had been playing cards. He left before they did, stating that he needed to return home to care for a sick child, though his timeline was later questioned. Reportedly, there were about 2 hours of his time that were unaccounted for.
Thought you were going to say he left saying, I have to go return some videotapes.
So again, remember how when the Rameks returned, they found that the porch light was on and the front door was unlocked?
Yes.
So the investigators thought that maybe Janet had opened the door for somebody. Investigators also noted that a side window had been broken using a garden hoe, which was later found inside the house. So this potential suspect had a reputation for inappropriate behavior towards women, including young girls. Investigators identified him as a suspect and brought him in for questioning. However, procedural issues occurred during the interrogation, as they tend to do, and he was released and not charged in connection with the case. The murder remains unsolved. It's going to get really sad for a second, guys.
Nice.
Janet was buried on March 21st, 1950, her 14th birthday. And this is a particularly heartbreaking detail from the lineup article, but she was dressed for burial in the burgundy suit she had been saving up her money for.
I knew it was coming. As soon as you said this is going to get rough, I was like, oh, she got buried in the maroon suit.
Despite how often this case is linked to the urban legend, there's no evidence it directly inspired it, but the similarities are hard to ignore. It's a real-life example of so many girls' fears coming to a horrible reality. Did you guys babysit?
I volunteered in a lot of nurseries, like at church. Here's for I haven't been on the podcast in a while, but when you grow up religious, right? If you want to secretly not have to listen to a sermon, what you can do is volunteer in the nursery or the wherever they're babysitting.
Oh, like during services.
Yeah, to get out of having to sit through a sermon.
I understand.
So that's what I would do.
Alan, did you babysit?
No, I can't say that I have.
Yeah, and it shows.
The other thing I did one time was my aunt used to have these big blowout parties where the adults would all get smashed, and I would be in charge of lifeguarding the pool with absolutely no lifeguarding experience. I just wasn't plastered.
Sure.
until I was like 18 years old and still getting the same job, and I was getting plastered, and that's when like I was like, okay, I got to retire
Yeah.
from lifeguarding.
Well, that's a responsible choice.
I like that you say retire, not quit. It's like, that's it for me.
I could come back.
I'm leaving the workforce.
Getting my pension. Not that anyone asked, babysat a lot. It was like a full-time job for me.
It
growing up.
shows.
Yeah, thank you. And I will say, like, a lot of the fears of, when a stranger calls or other movies that use this trope feel like I would sit alone in these houses I've never been in before with kids I'd never met because they were sleeping. And even if you've been back and you knew the kids, you have this like weird sense of responsibility to keep these children alive, even though you are yourself a child. And you're, in my case, in the woods in these houses you've never been in. There's creaky noises and stuff happening. And it's like this weird thing of like, you don't want to call the parents because, you'll be bad at your job if something happens. But like sometimes there are things like the power goes out or somebody comes to the door or whatever it is. And it's this weird, I don't know, it's like this weird isolated responsibility for people who are really young. I feel like I nannied also in the city and that was different. There's people that could hear you like if there's an emergency. You don't really feel like you're that alone. But when you're in like a house in the woods in Connecticut with a bunch of kids, you're kind of like, man, I'm 14. Like, what am I supposed to do in a case of an emergency? Like, all you really can do is call the cops.
No, you grabbed a loaded shotgun by the door.
That's right.
That's right.
They left it there for a reason. No, I thought about this. So I watched the first 25 minutes of this movie before we all got together.
Watched it twice today.
And then I rewatched it with you guys. When I was watching the first time, all I could think about for Carol Kane was, girls of a certain age, if they or boys of a certain age, I suppose, if you're babysitting, it's your first time, like you maybe you've been alone at your own house, but you know your own house. You sort of know, what you're supposed to do in a certain scenario, and you know the house. You're in a strange house and you're responsible. All you know to do is sort of what the parents who left told you. And in this movie, the one of the funnier things is like the parents cannot wait to get out of the house. They're like doing everything they can to give this girl as little information as possible before they walk out the door.
Modern parents.
And they're like, and don't you dare check on those kids.
Yeah, don't check on the kids. We just put them down. For God's sake, don't wake them up.
I'm sorry. Can we just reflect on the phrase "put them down"? I know a number of parents that use that phrase, and it just sounds so weird.
Yeah.
It's like, sorry, I just put my daughter down.
Yeah, you're right. Maybe
they're
we
not,
can
they're
update
not dogs,
that.
Alan.
I don't spend a lot of time around children.
Oh, that shows.
So I was like, I completely empathize with Carol Kane. The part that shocked me a little bit is she's getting harassed by somebody on the phone, and there's not much you can do. She calls the police. They're like, well, sorry, we can't do much for you.
But they could send an officer over for a drive-by, right?
Yeah. But what's he gonna do? Answer the phone?
Good. Yeah, you're right. I don't know. You're right. No laws were broken. There's no law that says you can't call someone.
Until he says, I want your blood all over me. That to me sounds pretty threatening.
That
but
seems suspicious.
Immediately after that is when they call her and say that the phone call came from inside the house.
Yeah.
Which leads me to the question I have for Abby, which is why is the myth that the guy's already in the house if the standing precedent we have for this myth is a guy leaving a party early and breaking in?
Thanks for redirecting us. Perfect segue. So, again, we're going to get to when a stranger calls later in the episode. Let's talk about the urban legend now. Great question, Dan. So partial answer before we get into the urban legend a little bit deeper is that the Janet case that I just talked about is an example of other cases and more importantly, a general fear of things that were happening at the time. So let me explain what I'm talking about. It's not sort of like one-to-one with the urban legend. It's a piece of inspiration, among other things. Okay. For one thing, babysitting was on the rise in the 1960s. So it wasn't always so, right? It was becoming more and more of a common job for teenagers. There was also an uptick in violence. And with the evening news, an awareness of violence in suburbs, right? That was something that was new. This was like,
the
again,
evening news was... new?
I'm thinking about like Vietnam too, right? Vietnam was the first time people really watched a war on TV.
Sure.
This was the first time if somebody's found dead down the street, there's footage.
Yep.
To some extent of something like, and so there's this newfound fear of your neighbor that's happening because suddenly you can see that, and there was always like newspapers and photos and things, but seeing it, I think, on the news is different.
Definitely.
And to some extent, I mean, some of this stuff is always happening throughout history and just is underreported.
Yes.
But now it's almost overreported. There's a sensationalism.
Almost.
Well, it's always going to get reported. There's a sensational aspect to it. People are interested in. It's making people worried, upset. It's also giving people.
It's going to get reported. And then it's going to get reposted. Then AI bots are going to scrape it and repost it as new content.
Yeah.
Then other AI bots scrape that and post it as even more stories. And suddenly you have an epidemic of one thing that may or may not have happened.
There you go.
Dead internet theory.
Along with this came a fear of home invasions. And at the same time, landline phones were becoming central in the home, which was, again, a new sort of thing. Being reachable, but not knowing who was on the other end was something that was like net new. While Janet's case is perhaps the most well-known, it's also not the only case of a stalked, harassed, or murdered babysitter at this time. The urban legend centers on a teenage babysitter who is alone in a house at night after the children they're watching have gone to bed. While watching television, she begins receiving repeated phone calls from an unknown person instructing her to, quote, check the children. As the calls persist, she becomes frightened and contacts the police. They tell her they will trace the next call. When the caller contacts her again, police trace it and immediately call her back, telling her to leave the house. After she exits, officers inform her that the calls were placed from inside the home, where the intruder had already killed the children upstairs. So there's some alternative versions to this urban legend. In some variations, intended for younger audiences, the caller is revealed to be one of the children or an older sibling attempting to scare the babysitter, and they are reprimanded by the police. Other versions end with the babysitter being killed, while some depict her escaping with the children as police apprehend the intruder. In certain tellings, the attacker makes a final remark such as, "See you soon," while being taken into custody. In other variations, the caller does not speak, instead making noises such as laughter or heavy breathing. In these cases, after the operator traces the calls to the house, the line goes silent. And when the operator attempts to speak again, only the same noises are heard, implying the babysitter has already been killed. Yet another version places the children awake with the babysitter watching television when the calls begin. The caller tells them he will arrive in progressively shorter amounts of time. After they're informed the calls are coming from inside the house, they hear a door open upstairs followed by footsteps approaching. This version appears in Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Do you remember that book?
Sure do.
The best book. Some later adaptations depict the babysitter as an adult with a family of her own. While out to dinner, she receives a phone call repeating the phrase, "Did you check the children?" In another variation, police later report that the intruder had been hiding under one of the children's beds with a weapon.
What do you see? What are you talking about?
So again, similar to an urban legend like the Black-Eyed Children, as they're retold, people have told them in different ways, have changed them. And so it's so well known and documented that these are like the 10 different major versions of this story that were often told around campfires.
Gotcha.
As I said, in whispers on the bus.
No, whispers at the bus.
Either way.
The bus is not moving. You're standing next to it. But I can't help but notice that you were describing some scenes that were perfectly recreated in the movie.
Yes, and we will get there in due time.
Oh, see, I thought you set her up there to go straight into
No,
the
see,
movie.
this is my pain. I think I know the perfect thing, and she's like, "Fuck off."
Well,
we're not talking about that right now.
You'll know when it's time.
Here's what I was gonna throw in there. It's interesting, right? Because we think about how everything's a little bit like a version of telephone, right?
Yeah.
And so I think everyone's worried about, is the internet distorting the truth? But so much of life is oral history kind of repeated, but little things change every time you do it. So.
All of Greek mythology.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So who knows what the truth is?
Exactly. You're right. It's a good exercise in accepting that the world is, nebulous.
That eyewitness accounts are wildly unreliable.
Right.
Have you ever listened to the Serial podcast?
Of course not.
They've got a new one coming.
I
up.
know.
sounds
It came
interesting.
out.
Yeah.
It's out. I'm so excited.
Podcasts are trash.
Who's listening to podcasts? I'm all about Substack articles.
You can follow Dan on Substack. But there is one alternative worth harping on for a moment, and that is often referred to as the clown statue or the clown doll in The Babysitter. In this version, a babysitter becomes uncomfortable with what appears to be a life-size clown figure positioned in a room.
Well, first off, I got chills when you said the clown figure alternate version. It just made me feel creeped out. But if there's a full-sized clown statue in any place you're babysitting, just get out of there immediately. That's
It's a good rule of
it's a
thumb.
bad house.
No, that is a great opportunity to make sure that the loaded shotgun works.
While checking in, a parent calls the house and the babysitter asks if she can cover the statue with a blanket. The parent responds that there's no clown statue in the home, revealing that the figure is actually a person dressed as a clown. Variations of this story include different details. In some, the children mention seeing a suspicious figure earlier in the night. In others, the intruder poses as a clown doll rather than a statue. But I mean, what's the difference, really, right?
That's a tiny person if they're posing as a doll.
Yeah, it's a great point.
A life-size clown doll.
Of course.
It's a kinky family.
Some versions describe the babysitter becoming increasingly uneasy before contacting the parents, while others have her attempt to avoid the figure by moving to another room or changing floors. In many tellings, she uses a blanket or a sheet to cover it up. Certain versions place the story in a specific location, including Newport Beach, California. The identity of the intruder also varies. It may be described as a violent individual, an unhoused person, or, in some versions, a ghost associated with the home. A ghost pretending to be a clown.
What's the resolution?
It's an urban legend.
I know, but like, does she ever confront the thing, or is it like is the climate is the end of the story when she finds out that it's a person?
When does It come out?
2017,
No,
right?
not that It. The book It.
Oh, 86 maybe? No, later.
86, exactly.
Oh wow, man,
Good job.
It's crazy to me for how long clowns have had a negative rap.
Yeah.
For more info on that, check out our creepy clowns episode.
Oh, I don't know if it's a good recommendation. It's so old.
Yeah, but you at least talk about the history of clowns.
Yeah. I mean, it was fun. We went all the way back to court jesters. All right, so let's talk about the many horror films that were inspired by this urban legend.
Speaking of which, did you know that the Latin word for clown is Balatro?
Oh, hey, Balatro.
Yeah.
For all of those out there addicted to Balatro, like Alan, and it's ruining your relationships, call me and we can have a support group.
I haven't played yet, and
Don't do it.
I'm a little nervous.
You just got married. It's not worth it.
You just got married.
So a jester in a Roman court would be known as a Balatro.
By the early 1700s, this idea had already started to appear in film. And I guess, Alan, sort of to your point about back rooms, which are starting to appear in films now, it's kind of similar to that, right? It was something contained, a creepypasta that evolved online, and now it's appearing in horror movies. It's kind of a similar modern day version.
Is there a Backrooms movie?
Yeah, an A24 movie's coming out.
Is it? Oh, cool. What? I do fear that A24 is not what it used to be.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's like Netflix now, where it's become so big that the quality is across the board.
Yeah, I agree. That's life.
It's no Hereditary.
In 1971, a movie called Foster's Released came out. It was directed by David Eady. It's a lesser-known British thriller involving a babysitter terrorized by threatening phone calls. It's one of the earliest screen uses of this trope, so it's worth calling out for that reason.
What year is this?
1971.
Well, I was going to throw in there that one of the things that's interesting about this to me is that it reminds me all vaguely of a movie that I haven't seen since I was probably like 10 years old.
All Dogs Go to Heaven.
I probably haven't seen that in even longer. But there's a movie from 1948 called Sorry, Wrong Number.
Tell us about it.
So Sorry, Wrong Number is a movie about a sort of bedridden woman. It's unclear exactly why she's bedridden, but I always viewed it sort of she has like an agoraphobia.
Sure.
Because she's bedridden, she sort of has to live through her phone, right? She's stuck inside. It's the 40s. People are out and about. She's got to she's got to get by with social interactions over her phone. And while she's on the phone, the lines get crossed, and she overhears a murder plot.
Mm.
And she's trying to puzzle things together, and then she ends up being the murder victim. this whole sort of phone paranoia to me like feels like an older idea even than the initial example, but because it's sort of in the zeitgeist, feels like something that like would gain a lot of traction as like an urban myth.
Like Dial M for Murder even, right? Like there's a lot of horror that centers around phone technology before this. I totally think you're right that all of that leads into this, and then it becomes this, okay, there's teenagers being killed, there's, you know, a lot of babysitters all of a sudden out there, and it's like a suburban feeling too, you know, it's a rural suburban feeling of isolation and like, I don't know, I think it just strikes me so profoundly as my experience growing up, like being afraid of being alone. And I think a lot of people in the suburbs felt like that. For like, there's something very eerie about it sometimes.
Wasn't there also a movie called Phone Booth
Probably.
with like Ben Affleck or something?
Yeah, that's a little different.
He's like stuck in a phone booth and like, because of a sniper.
Yeah, there's a sniper rifle trained on him, and from the phone booth he has to make it like the movie's shot in. I don't even know if I've seen it. I've just heard about it. It's shot in like real time, so it's like 87 minutes long. It's the 87 minutes where he's stuck on the phone.
Yeah,
it's kind of
this is pretty good. There's another movie called Cellular, but I don't remember that one.
Similar, but with a cell phone.
Yeah.
I'll throw out there, I think both of those movies were on How Did This Get Made, which is about bad movies.
Yep.
Alan's specialty. Also from 1971 was a movie called Fright, which was directed by Peter Collinson and starring Susan George. It follows a babysitter who is stalked by an escape mental patient. Frequently, it's cited as a direct proto-version of the urban legend on film. From 1973, a film called The Severed Arm was released. It was directed by Tom Alderman, and it's a revenge horror film not strictly about babysitting, but it includes threatening phone calls as one of the key elements of the movie. And it shows how the like anonymous caller is used as a terror device, and how that was like spreading quite often in the early 70s, right? Just as kind of like what you're talking about, even before that.
I'm sure there's a lot of new versions of like I'm sure there have been movies, and I probably haven't watched them, of somebody comments on your YouTube page and like it's an anonymous post, but it's creepy and it's, you know, like,
yeah. I also just think, yes, but I also think, to me, I don't know, I'm ready to debate, you know, I could be wrong here, but for me it feels like it doesn't quite translate in the same way. Like, to me, the fear of being a babysitter alone in a house, someone calling you, feels different than like the online comment. And I think the reason why it feels different to me is that the comment stuff is so everywhere. Like, I post any video and I could get 30 horrible comments on it. And I almost feel like as a society, we're like desensitized to it a little bit.
Well, it's like what you were saying about newspapers versus
the news,
news media. You're seeing something, you're feeling something, somebody's voice entering your domicile, right? Suddenly they're in the room with you vocally, right? And it feels like they could be in your, and to like the urban myths, you know, part of the story. You know, they could be in the house with you. It's like they're in the house with you because you can hear them breathing. You can hear their voice. There's an intimacy that you don't have when somebody just leaves you a creepy comment.
Very true.
It's also a two-way conversation. Like, you can talk to them back.
Yeah.
Right. It's like Lennox Mutual.
It is like Lennox.
It's a extra layer of vulnerability where, you know, I was trying to think like what would be the even more modern equivalent, like what would like a creepy Zoom call, you know?
Yeah.
But like, no, nothing's scary about a Zoom call because like you can see their face. So like it kind of, I feel like it kind of peaked on the creepy phone call.
There has been like Zoom horror and like cam girl horror.
Yeah,
it's been okay, but
what I'm saying is
different.
Like a stranger contacting you.
Yeah.
I guess, I don't know, like a FaceTime would be kind of weird.
Yeah, like I think there's a way to do it, but I think it's a different thing.
Like if a masked man calls you over FaceTime, that'd be weird.
Yeah, especially if you can see in the FaceTime that they're like outside your house.
Yeah.
You know, it like peaks a different
super
fear
spooky.
sense, though. Yeah.
Write these down. This is gold.
Yeah, that is actually pretty good. The idea that somebody FaceTimes you and they're outside your house, that would creep me out.
Yeah. Famously, Black Christmas in 1974. Directed by Bob Clark and starring Olivia Hussey, sorority sisters receive obscene, escalating phone calls from a killer inside the house. This was a major milestone for the trope. It firmly established the calls coming from inside the house concept in horror cinema. I really hate those scenes in this movie.
What movie?
In Black Christmas. I know that it is one of the most beloved, like, sort of earliest slasher films, and I acknowledge it for that, but there's something really, really upsetting to me about the way that it's depicted, even more so than, like, When a Stranger Calls isn't great. Like, those scenes are also upsetting, but Black Christmas is, like, really bad.
Do you get scared by Black Christmas?
I don't think I'm not, like, scared by it, but I am very unsettled by those phone calls.
Black Christmas sucks.
I found it cringy as a movie.
It's a bad movie.
I have a friend who recommended it as like a good early slasher, and I tried to watch it. No, it wasn't you guys. I tried to watch it a few Halloweens ago, and I was like,
it's a Christmas movie.
Sort of.
It felt cringy in a way and not well shot.
It's just a bad movie. I'm sorry.
guess
Better movies have been made.
Yeah.
That's true.
Ice Age, great movie.
Ice Age is wonderful.
Black Christmas began as a screenplay by Canadian writer Ray Moore, originally titled Stop Me. The story, of course, draws in part from the Babysitter and the Man Upstairs legend, but it was also inspired by a series of real murders that took place during the holiday season in Montreal's Westmount area. One of those cases from 1943 involved a 14-year-old who killed several members of his family. Producers Harvey Sherman and Richard Choughton later had Timothy Bond revise the script, shifting the setting to a university. Director Bob Clark also made changes, including rewriting dialogue and adding moments of humor, such as the characterization of Barb and Mrs. Mack. The latter was inspired by his aunt. Clark aimed to portray young people more realistically than was typical in American films at the time, emphasizing that college students were perceptive and not exaggerated stereotypes often shown on screen. Black Christmas was first released in Canada by Ambassador Film Distributors, debuting in the Toronto and Hamilton area on October 11th, 1974. It expanded in other cities, including Vancouver, Calgary, and others, in November, followed by a Montreal release in late December. The film reached the U.S. in May of 1975 through Warner Brothers, where it was initially marked under the title Silent Night, Evil Night, as distributors were concerned the original title might be misinterpreted by audiences as a blaxploitation film. The film earned $143,000 from 9 Toronto theaters in its first 2 weeks and brought in approximately $1.3 million during its Canadian theatrical run. It later reached a total of about $2 million in Canada, making it one of the highest-grossing Canadian films at the time.
Wow.
Also in 1974, a Brazilian thriller called O Anho de Noite,
Your Portuguese is incredible.
directed by Walter Hugo Corey. This film told the story of a babysitter who was threatened by calls during a night alone. And I like talking about this one because it shows that the legend became international, right? It wasn't just in the U.S. or in small, like, this one made it all the way to Brazil.
Well, yeah, I mean, they got phones there.
I know, but I'm just saying, it was a global sensation.
We could call there now.
All right. So 3 years later, let's talk business. 1977, a film was released, a short film called The Sitter. It was directed by Fred Walton. So this is a short film that was a bit of a proof of concept for When a Stranger Calls. It's essentially the most direct adaptation of the urban legend before it became a feature film. It was released in theaters as a short shown ahead of Looking for Mr. Goodbar. After seeing it, executive producers...
Sorry, Looking for Mr. Goodbar?
That was the feature it showed before.
The candy? Mr. Goodbar.
It's a film called Looking for Mr. Goodbar, 1977.
Maybe it was like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, where the movie was to be a commercial for Mr. Goodbar.
Yeah, I'm really curious about Looking for Mr. Goodbar.
Well, I was just gonna say, I think
it's an American crime drama.
I'm gonna write down a prediction for where Abby's going because I think I've got a good idea of this proof of concept.
Yes.
Short film. I'm thinking that the first 25 minutes of this film are pretty much directly that proof of concept, and that's why the other 2/3 of the movie feel so different.
Yeah. I mean, it's not
Nailed it.
It's not like they put the short and built off of it, but yes, I think the proof of concept was, the first part of that movie.
That's interesting because the remake is just that part of the movie.
Yeah.
So they could have just, gone with that and stretched it out for an unbearably long amount of time the way that the 2006 version did.
Yeah. So after seeing it, the executive producers Barry Cross and Douglas Chapin purchased the rights and had Walton, the director, and Feke, the writer, develop it into a full-length film. So 2 years later, in 1979, When a Stranger Calls was released. Again, it was directed by Fred Walton, starring Carol Kane. It expands The Sitter into a full film, and its opening sequence is a near-perfect retelling of the legend. This is a definitive version that cemented the trope in pop culture forever. Principal photography began on October 9th, 1978, and continued for roughly 27 and a half days in LA, particularly in Brentwood. The filming in November, so the next month, including locations in downtown LA during a series of Skid Row stabbing murders, with some scenes shot at sites where victims had been discovered, including the steps of the Los Angeles Public Library. So, a bit of a dark lore about the set. The bar scene featuring Duncan and Tracy was filmed at Torchy's on West 5th Street,
Not to be confused with Torchy's Tacos.
which is in Austin. The film was released by Columbia theatrically in the United States on September 28th, 1979. To me, the perfect release date for a horror movie. A little bit before October, a few days before October. Give us the month of October to watch it.
Okay, sure.
I can get behind that. The only thing that I would feel bad is if it wasn't very popular and it lost its theatrical release before the 31st.
Yeah.
That would feel like a real downer.
That would be, that's true.
I like when horror movies come out in early November because then that just keeps spooky season going.
All right, there you go.
But isn't that award season?
Yeah.
Who cares about award season?
Well, then they're competing with all the award bait.
Sure. And hopefully they win.
Well, now, I mean, Sinners and
I know, what a year
Weapons.
for
What
horror
a year
at the
for
Oscars.
horror.
Frankenstein.
Frankenstein.
The film was re-released across more screens in 1980. The American Classification and Rating Administration originally approved the film for a PG rating.
What?
Several years before PG-13 was
There
introduced.
was a naked man.
I know.
She was covered in blood.
Following a review by the chairman, the board reconvened to reconsider the decision. The chairman maintained that the film's treatment of the subject matter was too intense for a general audience of children, and a subsequent vote led to the film receiving an R rating instead.
Wow, that's quite the exponential increase.
No, because
PG
Well,
to R?
PG-13 didn't exist yet.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's just the next tier on the ladder. It's
Yeah.
either kids can see it or actually that's fine. Either kids can see it or
Yeah.
kids cannot.
Yeah, it's like drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, either
You're in or you're out.
It's rated beer 13.
The film earned about $483,000 in pre-release engagements and expanded to almost 500 theaters, grossing $2.6 million in its first 4 days. It reached number one at the box office by its third week and ultimately grossed approximately $20 million in its initial North American run,
Great run.
with an additional $1.26 million in a 1980 re-release. Produced on a $1.5 million budget, it was considered a financial success, with some contemporary reports placing the total gross near $25 million. Famously, Roger Ebert called the movie sleazy.
Sleazy. Why sleazy?
Dirty cop.
Yeah, he is a dirty cop.
Though it had a more favorable review from the New York Times, where the reviewer called it energetic. Author Travis Holt had talked about the importance of the telephone in the film's portrayal of horror. Quote, "The phone is presented as a means of safety and comfort in the beginning of the film. It's a savior rather than a burden," end quote. But once the phone calls start, he describes the phone as, quote, "With the constant central framing of the telephone and its intrusion into the tranquility of the house, the phone has become Jill's nemesis. Jill remains trapped in a situation where she can do nothing but pray that the perpetrator stops calling. The device that usually holds so much promise for positive communication has become virtually her worst nightmare," end quote. Because you remember at the beginning, she's calling her friend, right? There's some positive energy around the phone.
What was the name of her husband at the end? Does anyone remember? Because she's on the phone. She's trying to get Bobby's attention. If you remember, she's like, "Nancy, let Bobby know I'm waiting for his phone call."
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm trying to remember if she ended up with him.
Let's see.
I don't think so. I think his name was Sean. I have the benefit of having seen that one part twice. Side note, if for those of you guys who watched, me and Ellen particularly enjoyed the fact that her husband at the end looks exactly like Artie Ziff from
The Simpsons. That's right.
Simpsons. I hope that's fun for
It was very
some
fun.
of you.
Yeah.
His name is Steven.
Yes. Well, Sean was close.
Yeah, but it's not Bobby.
No. So I guess she gets over Bobby.
I hope so. Or maybe she's still in love with him.
Maybe Bobby was the killer.
No, that was
No,
Duncan.
his name's Kurt.
Kurt Duncan.
That's my level of memory.
In 1993, When a Stranger Calls Back is released. It was again directed by Fred Walton. It's a sequel that updates the premise with new variations, which I don't want to totally spoil because we haven't seen it yet, but it includes some like visual representations. And it shows how the original legend evolved into new forms of home invasion horror. 2006 is a big year. There was a remake of Black Christmas, which was directed by Glenn Morgan. In the same year, there was also a remake of When a Stranger Calls, which, one, made me actually scream out loud in the theater when I saw it. I have a visceral memory of that happening. And two, it inspired one of my first home horror movies. Shout out to my friend Jess. We made a movie called When a Strange Her Calls.
Oh, yeah.
Can we see it?
No.
Roll that clip.
The movie was directed by Simon West and stars Camilla Bell. It's a full feature built almost entirely around the babysitting alone scenario. So just those first 25 minutes of the original. So it's Dan and I were talking about this as we were watching the movie because the remake just takes that first, again, the short, right, the sitter, and then the first 25 minutes of the original When a Stranger Calls and turns it into a feature film.
We're going to talk more about the movie, I think, but the movie does a great job in that first 25 minutes of making you like feel the tension of a girl in a house that's unfamiliar to her, and like they convey this very well of like shot of a corner, shot of like a hallway, shot of a shadow, like small sections of the house where this person could be hiding.
A masterclass in cinematography.
Oh, I'm obsessed with the cinematography of this movie.
The remake takes those single frame shots and replaces it with about 10 or 15 minutes of the girl running through the house, having to look at every single inch of it to try and find this man who's calling her from inside the house.
Yeah.
And that's how they get 86 minutes out of a 22-minute
Yep. The
short story.
The first part of the original has great pacing.
Yeah.
It feels not rushed, but very intense. And it does not overstay its welcome.
Which it does so...
I can only imagine.
It does it so well with the THX sound.
That's one of the trippiest parts of watching this movie.
So, Dan, you clocked it immediately. It's like, wait, is that the THX sound? So we Googled. It's like, everyone who grew up in the 90s knows the THX sound. But in this very iconic sound is used again and again throughout When a Stranger Calls.
As part of the score.
As part of the score, the sound design. But no, this has no affiliation with the actual THX sound. It's actually just kind of like a sound parlor trick that I guess has been done for a very long time that was really crafted and dialed up to 11 for the THX sound, but it's been used in a bunch of other stuff, according to the Reddit thread that we looked up.
Fascinating.
The only thing that I was kind of hoping for was like when she gets the call originally, I feel like instead of being like a creepy killer, it was like another victim that's like, help, I'm in the middle of a situation. Like I can't get
You mean at the beginning or
yeah,
the end?
I in the beginning, like, I can't get through to anyone. You're the first person I got through. Like, you have to help me get out of this situation. Like, the whole movie is then about, like, her helping this, like, rando survive this thing. I think that's a really cool idea, which is why they made it into the 2004 thriller Cellular.
Oh. Okay. You lost me for a minute, and then, okay.
I was waiting for the cellular callback. I really enjoyed this movie. I was really excited when Alan said that we were going to watch it.
This episode was entirely my idea.
LOL.
So I was excited to watch it. I loved lots of it. The middle chunk of this movie is sort of about a detective trying to find the serial killer, Kurt Duncan, who, escapes a mental institution, which is a real departure from some of like the rest of what we've been talking about on the episode. But it does sort of what I felt like it was trying to wrestle with is this sort of 70s paranoia. We have, like you said, with the phone and sort of different technology, these more intimate moments of seeing the world clearly with all its, ugliness and all the terrible things that happen, and trying to rationalize that. And one of the weird things about this movie is it spends a lot of time with the serial killer. You spend a lot of time seeing the world through his eyes. And he's clearly got a lot going on. And at certain points I was like, not sure if they go kind of out of their way to almost make him a little sympathetic.
Definitely.
Sure.
I'm trying to think of like an earlier example of being very sympathetic to the killer.
Well, it feels to me like a lot of this movie felt similar to a Brian De Palma movie. And I think one of the big reasons is that we're with the killer a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not this whole thing of like, okay, like the beginning is this whole, song and dance of, oh, we don't know anything about the killer. We just know his voice and he's going to pop out. But then it's like they pop the balloon of that and you're just with him. You're overexposed to him so much so that at the end, you know, like exactly how it's going to play out. It totally tone shifts to be with the killer, I think, from like a very classic horror movie to like a thriller, because you don't have that fear of him coming out. Like there's a shot where the detective is coming down this long hallway looking for him, and we're with the killer. Like we see him hiding.
Mm-hmm.
It's the opposite of how you'd shoot a horror sequence. And so, yeah, it's kind of also this tone shift of like living in fear of when the killer's going to jump out in the remake in the first 25 minutes to a character piece on mental health or something,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah.
Exactly.
Also, all of Act 2, our killer is pining after this woman.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, a newspaper, never mind. And then we're back, and then we're in Act 3 and he's back chasing the woman that put him in jail in the first place.
Yeah.
Why? That's crazy.
Yeah, these 3 short stories.
Yep.
And the middle chunk doesn't have anything to do with the other 2.
No, it's great. It just doesn't fit.
Yeah.
We're missing the glue.
I had to do something while I was waiting for Jill Johnson to have 2 children so that he could recreate the first murder.
Exactly.
He was in jail.
Jill Johnson hasn't gone out for dinner her entire marriage because she's been so worried. She finally gets the courage when her husband
And hires a babysitter.
and hires a baby, Sharon.
Sharon, you have a great memory.
Great work.
I also just want to call out, and I feel like I do this all the time. This movie has so many, and it came out a year later, like so much overlapping themology with Halloween.
Almost the exact same. I mean, I
Like-
think Halloween's better.
Oh, yeah, but overwhelmingly, like the babysitters and the phone calls, an escaped mental patient, going to hold that whole thing, this one person who is, helping the protagonist. In this case, it's a detective, and, Halloween, it's a doctor. Like the one person that knows how bad this guy is,
Right.
Yeah.
A man who is part of the system, who's not afraid to use violence, who's not afraid to break the law, to take matters into his own hands.
It actually makes this movie, to me, like cop who becomes a private detective who's pretty salty, actually to me makes more sense than the Dr. Loomis character. The Dr. Loomis character is, I think, particularly, I mean, if Mike Myers is pure evil,
Sure.
I get it.
But
But
he's not that bad.
As a mental health professional.
Yeah, the love
it's
guru
like-
was not great, but
right. But as
oh, you mean Michael Myers?
Michael Myers, I'm sorry. In my head, they're the same.
Same.
I assume right after making Halloween, he got onto SNL.
What were you going to
Really-
say, Dan, as a mental health professional?
Dr. Loomis strikes me as a pretty unsympathetic person. I think he hates,
Well, how long was Michael locked up for the first time?
Like 20 years?
Like
18
20, yeah.
years?
He spent, every day, every other day, whatever, with this doctor.
Yeah.
Like, he got a pretty good feel for how awful this kid was.
Well, the other stark similarity, I think, is the opening sequences, right? Like in Halloween, you have this, again, perfect opening like shot that tracks this like early violence, but it's the same kind of idea. It's like this isolated horror introduction to the bad guy before he goes away. And it's the same thing in a Stranger Calls, it's just longer.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Scream, right? Like the whole opening, and I know we talked about Scream is meant to be meta of exactly like films like this, but the whole opening sequence of Scream with her on the phone, which is totally disconnected to the rest of the movie, it just reminds me of this too. All right, well, there's a few other films to talk about.
Oh.
In 2006, there was also a film called When a Killer Calls, which was directed by Peter Mervis. It's a low-budget reworking of the same concept. In 2008, there was a film called Amusement, directed by John Simpson. This is an anthology-style horror film with a segment involving a babysitter and a clown figure. So this is on my list.
I like that.
And in 2019, Black Christmas was remade yet again.
Hooray!
This time directed by Sophia Takal. It's a modern reinterpretation with a different thematic focus.
Have we seen it?
No. By the late 1970s, the Babysitter urban legend had fully crossed into film. And from that point on, it became one of the most foundational blueprints for home invasion horror, which I hate, but here we are. Especially the idea that the threat isn't outside trying to get in, but it's already inside the house.
Just like the state of our nation.
Exactly.
Do people have babysitters anymore? I mean,
No, that's too unsafe.
they still do.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah. Of course. What do you mean? Of course they do.
It's too unsafe.
Who do they trust with the children?
No one.
Like
AI.
I nannied for my cousin. You know, I think it's
No,
like...
20 years ago.
That's what I mean. Like,
No, I'm
like,
saying like if we had a kid, I'd have my cousin nanny for us, you know?
Okay.
It's like family.
I would just put him in the care of, what the fuck is the Grok.
Grok, yeah. Grok would make a good babysitter.
Like if we had a kid,
'Cause when
we'd
you're at a-
have our friend Jess's kid babysit our kid, you know, because there's an age difference.
What?
You have like people you know.
We don't have a kid.
I'm saying hypothetically.
You have a James.
Our kid is 14, almost.
He's not 14.
He's 13.
The Babysitter and the
Unlucky
Man
number.
Upstairs isn't one story, it's a pattern. From a real crime to an urban legend and decades of horror films that all center around the same very specific idea. I think a lot of women, especially young women, connect to this trope. It calls upon the vulnerability that young women often feel, the coming of age responsibility of being in charge of the lives of kids in someone else's house alone at night. Over time, the details have changed, but the structure hasn't, because the fear behind it is simple and it hasn't gone away. What makes this story so effective is how simple it is. There is no, or little, chase, no escape, just this deep sinking realization that something is already wrong. The idea that you can be alone in a place that feels safe and not actually be alone at all.
Uh-oh. I really enjoyed this movie. It was a cool topic. This is the whole thing, right? It's the history of horror. So it started with an urban legend, became a movie that became a staple in horror tropes for years to come. It was cool, and who would have thought that all had to do with creepy clowns?
Well, yeah. Well, we have to watch Amusement and come back and talk about that because I'm really interested in the
Definitely.
clown part of this urban legend.
Indeed.
The clown part is the one that is like a bridge too far. That's where like this urban myth. I'm like, you had me with the phone call. I could believe that, but you know,
Listeners out there who are horror writers, if anyone wants to write versions of this urban legend or the clown variant or another variant and send them to us, we will do an episode and read them on the podcast.
Can we just reflect on the fact that when this was made, in order to call someone from inside the house,
you gotta have two lines.
you have to have a completely separate
That's such
phone
a good
line.
point.
What the movie went out of its way to say that there was a line they thought was disconnected upstairs.
Yeah, they forgot about it.
that they forgot about, which means they've been paying
Yes.
for two phone lines.
I mean, no one in their right
Nobody knew.
mind would ever have a subscription that they forget about and just pay month to month and then
Right.
never realize.
Never would happen.
Never.
Not in the 1970s. Nowadays.
No, not when you have to write a check for it every month.
Nowadays, I've got like 1 million subscriptions
Yeah.
paying for a Neopets account.
Yep. I mean, I'd get it if they had a fax machine because you need a separate line for that. But you're what, like 6 years too early?
It's way too early for an at-home fax.
When did
machine.
people have at-home fax? I picture 80s, but maybe it was 90s.
Well, they existed in the 70s because if you watch the movie Almost Famous, which is not about horror, but is a great movie.
It's a great movie.
There's a whole thing at the end where they have to fax. They're like, it's something called a fax, but that's
Cool.
the 70s.
All right, so mid
But commercially available, 80s.
80s. Okay.
Probably more 90s.
I mean, it was a nice house. It would stand to reason that you'd have two phone lines just so his and her could each be on a call. It's crazy, but it's possible.
Yeah, I think it happened, but it certainly would have been a rarity. But definitely, like, if you had two phone lines, you would know. I feel like you wouldn't be paying the phone company double and not know it.
Because
Yeah.
we had
Kurt
two.
Tuckin was paying.
Kurt Duncan
just for
was
this moment.
actually that was something I thought about. Like, what is Kurt Duncan's story up until this movie taking place?
Right.
He's from England. He arrives in the city as a merchant marine or something like that.
What?
He has like they say like his identification papers are his merchant marine papers.
So he was a combat salesman?
I think he was like on a ship, and then he gets loose at port.
Uh-huh.
But like, how did he get that job in the first place? There's a whole story about his mental health journey that was very important to Act 2 that I don't know that we got.
Yeah,
Maybe
it was
it's
kind of
revealed
a
in When a
hand
Stranger
wave.
Calls Back.
Maybe. Is he in it?
I don't know. We'll have to see.
No, he's dead.
No, he's not dead.
Oh yeah, they shot him.
They shot him.
But so they shot Michael Myers how many times? I don't
So
think
many.
he didn't
But
shoot him in the
he's
head.
pure evil.
He went to shoot him in the head and he didn't. So do we really know he's dead?
True. Yeah.
I mean, this is a horror movie.
Kurt
They always come
Duncan,
back.
I don't think Kurt Duncan's pure evil.
I thought that was
he was.
Love, you're a Kurt Duncan apologist.
I thought that was a really good moment though when the private detective had the gun to the killer's head, and chose not to fire.
Yeah.
He was already dead, and I think that was like you just saw he wanted to do it so bad, but there was like that brief moment of like, oh fuck, I'm supposed to be the good guy.
I liked him. It worked on me for like this like level of I've been trying to be more open to the idea of like you can dislike people, but doesn't mean that everything they do is bad.
Yeah.
There's so many people. The world's full of people you don't like,
Yeah.
right? But sometimes they also do the right thing.
Right. We would not know about surviving hypothermia without the Nazis.
All right. On that I'm sure someone else would have figured it out. Dan, tell us where people can subscribe to your Substack.
Sure. I have a Substack. I think it's daniel.roberts91.
We'll link it. We'll link it in the
You can link it
episode.
in the comments. I talk about politics on there. If you're interested in politics, you can follow it or just follow it for fun. And I'm starting a podcast about existential and spiritual topics.
What's the name of it?
It's going to be called Existential in Westchester.
Nice.
I
Does
love that.
not exist yet, but it will.
And when it does, we will let you know for sure.
Within the next month and a half, you guys can come.
Why don't you
back
just
for it.
say coming soon? Because who knows when this will come out.
That's true. Coming
It'll
soon.
come out on Tuesday. All right. Thank you guys so much for listening. Dan, thank you so much for coming back.
Thank you for having me.
More from Dan in 2026 on Lunatics Radio Hour. Stay spooky, stay safe, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.